All right, welcome Eric to our Leaders Who Care series. I think we're gonna have some fun on this one, and we might even learn a couple of things at the same time. Who knows? But welcome. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, Mark. Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. And as I always say, the best place to start is if you can introduce who Eric is, where you're originally from, where you are now, family, maybe something you've never even told anybody you want to reveal to the world now. That's always fun too. Then we'll get into the business stuff later. But tell us about Eric.
Yeah, so I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area out in Fremont. I did my undergrad at BYU, Idaho, got it in healthcare administration, went and got my master's in that as well from the University of Michigan. And so because of that, I joke and I said that I have migrated from one side of the country to the other because I grew up on the West Coast my entire life, and then I went to the Rocky Mountains, and I went to the Midwest, and then my first job out of grad school was in Connecticut. And so I literally went from coast to coast, and then went down to Texas for a bit. And so I now live in Kansas City, so I'm somewhere in between. So it's kind of fun. Married, I have four beautiful kids and one extremely wonderful, patient wife. Um, for things that I haven't shared with people, I'm a pretty open book, so nothing really comes to mind.
Well, if you
Um,
think about it and it comes up, just to interject and we'll get it in there. Boys, girls?
I have three boys, one girl, and so four kids, age ranges from 7 to 1. So yes, I have my hands full. I'm really good at multitasking.
Yeah, no kidding. You have to be. But you know what they say, like the second one, you might drop them once, and then the third one is less photos, and you probably drop them a few times. Fourth one, you forgot somewhere or something.
Being a fourth child, I can attest to the fourth being forgotten. My
That's
first
just
two
it.
were,
Like this, right?
yeah, pretty much. It was the home alone syndrome. But the third one definitely has actually the most pictures taken because that's my one daughter, and so
Ah,
she definitely owns my camera roll.
good for her for making that happen. You might not have known it was happening, but she made it happen. So
Yeah.
speaking of kids, though, what were you like as a kid and then a teenager? Were you like a reader? Were you a math guy? Did you, based on your background, were you watching hospital soap operas or playing doctor? What did you do?
I did a bit of everything. I enjoyed playing sports, did it okay, but I enjoyed just learning how to do new things, golf, track and field, wrestling, cross country. Um, I did a lot of reading. I really enjoyed reading and just enjoying the world. I initially chose to go into healthcare administration for which I'm not in now, which we'll talk about later. But I chose to go into it because from the time that I was young, I had a really altruistic side where I wanted to actively go and help people. And I just wanted to better humanity and just make a positive impact on the world. And so I decided I wanted to be a doctor from the time that I was little. Fast forward, I was in high school, and my father invited me to go with him to a charity golf tournament. And I was probably about 15 at the time, 15, maybe 16. And I remember going to the tournament, and it was really exciting. It was sponsored by the Raiders football team. They had the Raiderettes there. They gave me huge swag bags. And I remember at the end of that, I was like, this is really cool. People that do business, they get to go golfing. Like, I want to do this so I can go golfing, but I still want to help people. And I was like, there has to be a business side to healthcare. And so that's why I landed on healthcare administration. I was like, the doctors have to have some boss over them. Wrong thinking now that I could say that 16 years later, but it was what I wanted to do. Is I always had that innate desire.
Yeah, and certainly the healthcare industry has changed dramatically, and we'll get into that a little bit too. And I know, like you said, you got into the your bachelor's healthcare admin management at Brigham Young, then your master's health services admin. I'm making sure I get this right at University of
Hmm.
Michigan. You said you wanted to help people, which healthcare is the most personal helping you can give, depending on where you're at. What were you envisioning once you were in college and getting those degrees, and concurrently you had a lot of what I saw like really quality related internships and project
Hmm.
work. including your dad making you work at his company. What were you envisioning?
To be honest, I envisioned being able to come in and serve as a catalyst to allow providers to act, to do more, and to be able to relieve some of the administrative burden that was going on with them, to be able to empower them to get more done. What I found from working the place, I'm not going to list my old employer's name, but I was running a very large M&A project, several $100 million, and got to do pretty much everything soup to nuts. I was doing 18 different service lines and departments, going for the integration of them. And I found out pretty quickly on that I was not helping, despite my best efforts. That that no matter what I could do as an administrator, you can only do so much. And
You
it
you had
generally,
never thought of being a doctor?
well, I had thought about being a doctor, Mark. Remember the conversation about a couple minutes ago about the golf thing where I wanted to be
Mhm.
the doctor's boss? Yeah. So it just, if you're in medicine as a provider, you're able to help people. If you're in it as an administrator, not the same.
It's not the
You're
same. Yeah.
you're a line item in someone's bill at best, and it wasn't filling my cup.
Well, I'm going to name some if I can. I mean,
Go
you
for it.
landed at Hartford Healthcare, and then
Hmm.
and then BrainCheck, and these in my mind they were two unique experiences, um, which in what I do I kind of notice at Hartford Healthcare, a lot of innovation, merger
Yep.
integration, a provider wellness program. I mean, there's some
Hmm.
pretty cool things that you are making a difference in. I understand it's not the medical difference, but talk about that one, and then if you can also brain check, which was a little bit different. A lot of partnerships, strategic business planning, but also data science and even IT implementations. You sure know how to do diversity of projects. So can you talk about those unique experiences?
Yeah. So at Hartford, I started off. We bought a $600 million facility, and I was doing the transition plan on that. So I started there, and then I was going to go off do consulting, and they wrote me back in. They're like, "Hey, we want you to start our innovation group, chief innovation officer." So I had a chance to do that. And from there it was a different perspective where we were bringing doctors in, and we had professors come down from MIT to teach courses on advanced analytics and AI. This was back in 2018, 2019, so before AI was as prolific as it is today. And we were doing that. We were working on spin out companies. In addition to that, I had the opportunity to service liaison and really run a public private partnership with the state of Connecticut focused on economic development with digital health companies. Uh, and that was extremely fulfilling and it was great. Um, I just came to realize that on the provider side, that wasn't necessarily where my skill set could add the most value. So at the end of the accelerator that I was running, I actually joined one of our companies, which was BrainCheck, where I came in running operations. I was a member of the management team. Grew it from 13 employees up to I think we're at 55 when I shifted over to run enterprise health and business development. Um, but I was overseeing 7 different departmental functions, doing a lot of stuff there, and that lead in a little bit more to my I want to help people because as great as health systems are, a lot of it is geographically bound. At BrainCheck, we were software as a medical device that screened for Alzheimer's disease and dementia, and that we could do at scale, where we were going across the entire U.S. Um, we were going over into working on some projects over in Europe. I had people that were interested in getting us in South America. Didn't end up moving that direction, but focused on helping people to get screened for dementia, where 90% of the cases don't get diagnosed until it's too late. And there's stuff that you can do to be able to prevent it and manage it.
Well, to say the least, that's certainly a place you're making an impact because it's one of the
Mm-hmm.
most horrendous diseases or whatnot right now out there. And I did notice, you talk about having a lot of hats and whatnot, and then you're talking about challenges and opportunities there, but you also always listed happiness as one of your skill sets. Um, So were you
You,
making a difference and not happy, or were you happy and trying to
oh
make?
no, I was absolutely thrilled. Got, oh man. So let me rephrase. I want to walk back one of my comments from before. When I shifted over to join BrainCheck, I felt like I was making a huge difference in the world. In many ways, it was. Um, and it was, it's a startup. It's hard. There's a lot of things going on at any point in time. And there's a lot of times where you're just crushed with the amount in front of you. And so one of my core abilities is that I'm always happy. It's even smiling in the face of adversity is something I enjoy doing. And so doing it all, running it all, smile on my face. It's one of
You're
my
the
favorite
Are
things.
you the Happy Gilmore of healthcare?
I was, yeah, more or less.
Because he golfed too, didn't he?
I think so. I think there might have been a movie about him or something,
Something like that. Yeah.
something like that.
He also wrote the Hanukkah song, which is, coming up, which is also
Oh yes,
interesting and make you happy, no matter whatever religion you were, it made you happy. Um, so, we, our firm, we founded on the basis that leaders and their organizations can always do way better when doing good. And as we said, healthcare is one of those sectors that hopefully you can show that you'll do much better when you're doing good. But um, was there a clear inflection point for you towards the importance of making and balancing the economic and social impact side of it during your healthcare career? And I want to read this here, and the ability to take a health and well-being career break too that you took. Um, and by the way, I did see that. Congratulations to your Australian Shepherd show dog. I did see the
thank you.
ribbons and whatnot. That was made. I love dogs, so that was cool. But I guess my main question was there a clear inflection point about the balancing of the economic and social impact, the balancing of making the business work, but also making a difference, etc. Was there an inflection point, good, bad, or otherwise, for you?
Yeah, and so when I approach things, Mark, as you mentioned, now I enjoy many hats. I enjoy doing multiple things at the same time, and so the inflection point was actually coming in, which was if I can be part of an organization, I want to be doing good. I want to know that our product changes the world. I want to know that what I'm doing is actively active and important. So from BrainCheck, the inflection point was at the very beginning, and it was just marching in lockstep. Where as we were going and getting people screened, it really helped them. I remember I had a doctor go and send an email. She'd been on our platform for like a week, and she was like, "I just had a patient who came in and didn't know what was going on with them cognitively, and they were struggling. They were wondering if they were losing their mind. So they took the assessment. They're like, well, this is what's going on, and we can now track you and be able to help and treat it." And they broke into tears. They were so excited about that by that. And so she finished writing. She's like, I can't use this for everyone, but I can for some, and it makes a world of difference for them. And I remember reading that, and it just warmed my heart. I'm like, this is wonderful. Um, and it's I think it's something that you can set from the outset is looking at what you want to do and making sure from the beginning that you're designing a career or a role that allows you to do good and be good at the same time. At the end of BrainCheck, I had been there for 3 years, and anyone who's ever played in a startup knows that you're playing fast forward 3 years. In that time period, I did the same amount of things that I would have done 10 years somewhere else. Like it was just always on. At the time, I had 3 kids when I left. I was absolutely exhausted. My wife had just found out that we were pregnant for the fourth time. We were undergoing a CEO transition, and I was like, you know what? This has been a really good run, but I need to spend some time and focus on me. I need to spend some time and get spend time with my kids because there were days when they would want me to go and play with them, play catch, or go play tag or hide and go seek, and I was like, I can literally only lay down on the couch right now. I can't move. Don't really want to talk. I just want to be here. And that's it. And I realized that that wasn't the best for them. That wasn't the best for me. And so a change needed to happen. So a change did.
Yeah, that's great. Having, three boys and a bonus daughter, as I call her, it goes very fast. And you can't get it back. So,
Yeah.
and with all the mental health issues going on now too, that's part of the game also. So I guess it was good that your dad, had you work ferociously during summers or whatever to at the firm so that you can join. And it's go ahead. What?
Yeah, so after when I was on my health break, I started really evaluating what I wanted to do with my life. My father had approached me to go work for him, and I said, I really appreciate the opportunity. I need some more time. And I had friends go and offer for me to go start new companies with them. They just taken money from tier A VCs. They're like, you'll be on the founding team or you'll be employee number one or two. Some that were scaling theirs that wanted me to come in. But then it came back to it, and I had another conversation with my dad about what was going on and what he was envisioning for the future. And I was like, you know what? I think this is where I would like to spend my time. And so I rejoined my father's company, which is Groco. We're an MFO, multifamily office, where we run all the back end for family office level individuals, as well as we do tax and compliance work for people as well. And so we just make people's lives easier. And I'm sure this is where you're leading towards. And what I got brought in specifically to go and work on and start is a program called Legacy Builders, where we serve as a collaborative community for ultra high net worth individuals and family offices to come in and to collaborate on philanthropy and impact investing. And kind of our tagline is um, we don't need your money. And in fact, you don't need anyone else's year's money. But what you do need is wisdom and the opportunity to collaborate with like-minded, outwardly focused individuals. And so that's what we do.
So you kind of are still in healthcare in a way.
I am, but at a much more macro level. I went from being focused in on specific communities to focused on an entire disease state to just focused on the entire world. And my background in it actually, I feel like gives me a competitive advantage on the philanthropic side. Um, because when people are coming in to go and focus on solving specific problems, and where we focus most of our time is on poverty alleviation, you need to understand all the other factors that are in place that either are because of the poverty or contribute to it. And so understanding what the socioeconomic status is of an individual, social determinants of health. And if you're gonna come in and say, hey, I'm gonna give you some food, or I'm gonna give you aid in some way, shape, or form, it's how will that actually affect them? Is that really meeting the root cause of what's going on there, or what can we actually do?
Yeah, I think that's the brilliant statement right there because even some people, in all their sincerity, wouldn't be doing it right, that it'll make a difference or at least a sustainable difference. And people do have pride and as well. We've heard the stories of people that have been at legacy builders like Becky in India with the leprosy colonies, and
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen others too where they try to tell them what to do and give them stuff, but it doesn't work. It's got to come from within.
No, and I have a friend who she told a great story, Pamela Holly, at one of our conferences, where there was a natural disaster in South America, and people in the region affected, I believe it was Peru, they were starving. And so some well-meaning philanthropists in the US were like, we're going to send them protein bars that have all the nutritional benefits for the starving people. And they came with the best of intentions. The food eventually got down to them, and the people didn't want to eat it because they're like, this isn't actually helpful for us. This isn't what we eat. This isn't the natural
Right.
fruits and vegetables. It's super processed. And so they'd rather let it go to the side.
Yeah, 100%. It's like sending a parka to Haiti or something.
Yeah.
Um, and you just got to think a little bit. And we actually did a project with UNICEF at one point where the kids really starving. There's now I can't remember what it's called, but it's a not a contraption, but it's a shot almost that they have to give them um, to bring them to a point where they can even eat because they can't even eat the food. And so, and 100%. And some people will eat this, and some people eat that, and whatnot. And and you always have to remember, lift up their self-esteem and who they are as people and value versus just look what I gave you type of thing, and that it doesn't work. Were there in addition to Peru, were there any special experiences and accomplishments that really stand out for you that you've seen while you're doing this work?
It's interesting, Mark. A lot, um, and I want to choose my words very carefully here. A lot of what we focused on is what I would like to call evergreen philanthropy. It's financial self-reliance programs where you're not giving a handout, you're giving somebody a hand up. Because the second that you choose to give someone a handout, it's congratulations, you fed them for a day, and at the same time, you're taking their dignity away from them.
Right.
And people don't want that. They want to be able to provide for themselves. They want to have that dignity. They want to just be given the tools and taught how to use them, be taught how to use them rather than have someone say, well, you know better. A lot of what I have seen that works really well is um, is where philanthropists choose to let themselves take the back seat. They hire a really good team, generally of locals, to whatever region that they're working on, and empower them to be able to do what needs to be done. Because having you or I from the U.S. go and tell somebody who has a completely different life experience or reality from living in Zambia and say, hey, this is what you have to work. This is what you have to do to be successful because we know it. We're in the United States. It's wonderful, or Canada. Um, but
Yep.
instead, it's saying, let's work with you guys on your own terms and help to develop programs and processes that work for you and your culture. And then find the ways to allow it to be financially self-reliant. One of the things that I love is looking at um, philanthropy similar to how you would if you're doing an investment within a private equity fund or venture fund, where you have the full amount of cash investment set aside, and you're saying, okay, we're going to deploy 300,000. Let's see, it's $500,000. We'll deploy $300,000 in the first tranche, and then we'll get capital calls of another 50,000 or 100,000 until it's all taken out. And view your philanthropic efforts the same way of saying, I'm going to do this initial investment and I'm going to have these follow ons onto that. And by the time that the final cash infusion goes through, this needs to be financially self sustainable. You need to have, specifically for poverty alleviation, you need to work with people to help them create micro enterprises. You need to work with them to be able to find ways to better themselves. Because the second that you're able to help someone economically, they're able to then go and do things such as afford medicine, which there's great programs out there like the Gates Foundation that have made vaccines available throughout the world. Medicine is only one part of it. The second that they're able to support themselves financially, they're able to then turn around and help their neighbors as well. So you have this long tail of individuals that are helped because you're able to alleviate the core issue of poverty within an individual. So I hope
Yeah.
that's a little long-winded. So
No, it's perfect. It's so true. Then the young people come out of there and they continue it and they continue it and they keep going. And we talk a lot now, but we have to start taking things more personally and not have fun with how we talk with each other and don't take certain things personally. Like if you're having, jokes and back and forth, but take things like you're talking about personally and maybe think, well, if that's my son that's sitting there, what would I do? Would I just give him an apple and leave? Or would I teach him to do and and don't be numb to to seeing let's say, God forbid, on the news, you see two people died wherever, and you say, well, hey, not bad day today. There's only two people died, but take that personally also to really make a difference, a difference out there. Um, they say in LA we have to leave them wanting more so we can do a sequel. So we'll have to maybe do a sequel here, but I want to ask you a couple more questions. The fourth industrial revolution has been, considered basically tech and AI and stuff, and they're saying the fifth is really about humanity. And we like to focus on how impact and talent work together using tech to make things happen. How have you seen and how do you expect to see tech and especially AI impact your work and your clients' work and clients' decisions?
It's already here, is what it comes down to. It's the way that I view it is AI and technology is a tool to be leveraged to enable people to work much quicker. Um, it- and so it's already there. And in the counterbalance, I'm going to shift actually the focus of the problem. It's not necessarily how is it going to make their work change? It's going to be how can they make sure that their work is able to change the world better. For things such as technology and AI, for as great as it has a large carbon impact. AI, every time that you want to do a calculation to ask ChatGPT a question, 8 ounces of water are required to cool the machine. There's not enough water out there in the world to be able to
Yeah.
satiate what we're looking at. And so it's how do we use the tools that we have? We're already using it, but how do we turn those tools into something more environmentally responsible? Or how can we use it to, I don't know, do a development work in other countries where why not go and find ways to go and have people in third world countries get the same access that we have here in the US? And or maybe find a way that they can use the technology to go and create micro businesses like data centers. Data centers aren't micro businesses, but
Well,
um,
they can be micro and very macro. Well, so
yes, they can. And so it's
and for healthcare,
the
not to
and for
cut
healthcare.
in for healthcare, it could be more than transformational, but you can't lose the human, the human touch when it comes to a lot of those things. We just did UN General Assembly Week. We did a panel called AI and Love Intelligence. And there was people on it with me that were super tech AI people, and then with leaders who care. I think we were bringing in the love, apparently. And but the point was, AI can be just like a newborn baby, where you're teaching it the right language, the right mindset, the right being positive, being loving, being caring in the language, and the baby will grow up and do a lot of great things and maybe some stupid things too, and maybe AI will too. But if it can be towards a leaning of that type of language, then it could actually be, super duper valuable. Last point I wanted to bring up, a client in 2021 told me way back when about 2020, the pandemic year. He said, it was the year that flew by slowly. And I thought, what a great, great comment, because we still even think of it like yesterday and also years ago, all the same time. It seems
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So now we're almost in 2025. I remember the millennial, which was a big deal. Now we're in 2025. What are you most grateful for? And also, what are you most hopeful for?
Ooh, gratitude is get to sit with my family and my wife Leanna. You know, and I don't mean to sound callous with this. 20, 21, and 22, I'm going to label those the core pandemic years because after that, people stopped social distancing. I was really thankful for that time, even though I was working crazy hours, because I spent a lot of time with my family, with my immediate family, with my wife and kids, and it made me have the right perspective, is what I'll say.
Sure.
Um, and so that's what I'm most thankful for. What I'm hopeful for as we look to 25 and beyond. Um, I'm hopeful that people choose to see the good in the world. There's a lot of bad stuff that's happening at any point in time, but there's an equal number of good things, in my opinion. And I think sometimes it gets lost in the media shuffle or it gets lost in comparison as you're comparing one person to the other. We have never lived in a world that is more healthy in terms of vaccination rates throughout the world. Um, the fact that children do not die of polio, is something that we often take for granted.
We do.
Maternal mothers giving birth in general are able to survive in ways that they weren't able to 50 years ago, where children are able to have mothers that live there instead of dying in childbirth. Um, there's a lot of really good things out there, and I think the best is yet to come. That's what I'm hopeful for. So I hope that as humanity, we choose to look for the good in the future, but we don't forget about what it means to be human and what it means to have compassion and care for others who are struggling.
So we can be leaders who care.
So we can be leaders who care.
Ooh, great. I
Yes,
got to write that one down.
I think you should. Maybe trademark it.
Well, done, done, done. No, so, so, hey, I'm grateful that you are a leader who really cares. And as I've gotten to know you, it's proven you're the show me state, like Kansas or whatever. And, but, and I'm grateful that you're a new friend, relatively new friend. So I'm grateful for that. But I guess I'm hopeful for all the same stuff, as well. And I think it's telling that it's really up to anybody can be a leader who cares and just smile at somebody once a day even and whatever it may take to make a difference. So whether it's healthcare or your clients now or whatnot, keeping that leaders who care, and thanks for being on the series.
Thank you, Mark. It has been a pleasure getting to meet you this year, and I love everything that you stand for and that you do.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.